Good evening and welcome. I'm going to call the City of Coolidge, Coolidge City Council regular meeting February 24th, 2020 to order. And the first order of business will be the invocation by Pastor Tracy Perry with the Spirit of Joy Methodist Church. And after that, Pastor Perry is done. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Merciful God, we have gathered here this evening as we are about to begin the holy season of Lent, a season to remember the sacrifices made by our Lord and others to provide us with the freedom to worship you in public without fear. All these who have come tonight have also sacrificed their time and their energy out of concern and for the betterment of our community. Grant us the wisdom to see issues clearly as we ask your guidance in making decisions for the good of all. Show us how to be part of the answer and not part of the problems that have a tendency to overwhelm us. May we be channels of your grace, conduits of your wisdom and mercy, and instruments of your peace as we ask your blessing on this meeting. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, Pastor. Norma, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Jimmy Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Tina Kaufman.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Ben Navarro.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. And she's absent. We do have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you, Norma. First item of business under presentations, a monthly report and business spotlight recognitions by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, Lynn.
Feels like I haven't been here in a while.
Well, you haven't.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Coolidge Heritage Funeral Home, they are our spotlight for the month. They couldn't be here tonight, but the funeral home was originally Cole & Maud Funeral Home. Their current owner, funeral director, is Stan, and I'm not going to say his last name.
Stroberski.
Say it again.
Stroberski.
Thank you. I didn't want to butcher it. And they've been serving Arizona since 1981. They'll be hosting an open house on March 19th. That's a Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Hopefully you can make it. I just wanted to, Jackie passed out the 32nd annual town hall. It was connecting communities. It was a great success. Volunteering was one of the focal points. Did you want to add anything to? We worked real hard on that.
We had several speakers on great projects that were going on in Pinal County and opportunities for volunteering. Find Your Passion was what we went for. They gave out 2 scholarships. One was awarded $1,000 and one was awarded $500. And there was 166 individuals that attended. And I passed out.
Yeah, that's the final report for the town hall. Chamber reinvestments for December were Pinal Hispanic Council, M&S Equipment, Brown Coolidge Furniture and Appliance, Rocks Insurance, Chandler Jennings Company, Pinal County Historical Society, Heritage Coolidge Funeral Home, McDonald's Restaurant, Sun Life Health Center, River Co-op, Barnett's Better Buy, Coolidge Engine and Pump. Our new memberships for December are Neil Carter, Desert Nest Airbnb, and Ability 360. Our statistics for December is walk-ins were 899, phone calls were at 210, We did not have any relocation packets. Top states that visit us was South Dakota and Minnesota. Top foreign country was Canada. December Casa Grande ruins, there was 7,359. Year-to-date was 70,539, which is up about 8.26% from last year. Coming up events are the quilt show starts on March 1st at the Women's Club. And March 6th, 7th, and 8th, we'll have Cotton Days. And on March 14th, Touch Outer Space. And for more details, if you visit our website at coolidgechamber.org. Any questions?
Any questions down here?
Nope.
Over here?
Solid.
Oh, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glad you're back. Okay, we'll move into call of the public. This is a portion of the meeting where any member of the audience wants to come up and address the council. You have 3 minutes. Please step to the podium and your name and your address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Bean. In 1910, the legislature passed a law mandating segregated schools in Arizona. I'm inviting this council, the mayor, the sheriff, the public, educators of Casa Grande, Coolidge, Eloy, Toltec, and Maricopa to come to the segregated schoolhouse, Florence Boulevard, at the museum to see the segregated school. It's been fully restored. It is a museum and a replica of what it was back about 1932. It's going to take place this Friday, and it's going to start at 6 p.m. I'm sorry, at 6 p.m. It's an opportunity to revisit really a dark part of our history that I don't want to see it forgotten. And I would really appreciate the mayor making sure that 1 or 2 council members minimum attend with their family, especially children. This is an important thing for the young people to see. We're going to try and have a few speakers of people who attended that school or any segregated school. We got some from Toltec that are hopefully going to be there. We got one from Randolph. We got one that's going to come out of, he attended the Mexican school in Miami. 87 years old, and he got stories to tell. It was where we tried to keep education down for minorities, and this is the success story of students who refused to be put down. I think you'll enjoy it. I think the students will enjoy it. Teachers will benefit from it, and lawmakers will benefit from it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We appreciate you coming over and letting us know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else? Not seeing anybody else approach. We will move out of call to the public and move into business items for consent. Before I read them, I would ask if any member of the council would like any of these items pulled for individual consideration.
Number 6. No.
Okay. Number 6 is all that is requested. So, here we go. Number 5. Consider approval appointing Rosalinda Federico to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 2-year term. Number 7. Consider approval of submitting a grant application to the 2019 Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program for a grant in the amount not to exceed $200,000 to purchase a new bush truck for the Coolidge Fire Department. consider approval of submitting a grant application to the Safer Grant Program for a grant in the amount not to exceed $176,620.96 for employee expenses over a 3-year period for the hiring of 2 full-time firefighters. Item 9, consider approval of submitting a grant application to the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety for a grant in the amount of $25,400 to purchase DUI investigation supplies and equipment and fund DUI enforcement overtime. Item 10, resolution number 20-04, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, approving submission of an application to the Arizona State Library, Archives, and Public Records for grant funds in the amount of $10,000 and accepting such grant funds from the Arizona State Library, Archives, and Public Records for the purchase of assistive technology equipment to provide enhanced services to the visually impaired. Item 11, consider approval of entering into an intergovernmental agreement between Pinal County and the City of Coolidge for the purpose of providing election and voter registration services during the city's 2020 primary and general elections. And item 12, consider approval of the claims for the month of January 2020. Okay, this is the consent agenda. I would need a motion to act.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion, make a motion to approve items 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 as read.
Second.
Okay, Norman, choose your second. All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
hold on. There's a resolution. Norma, go ahead.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move back to item 6. Consider approval of submitting a grant application to the Gila River Indian Community for a grant in the amount of $12,150 to purchase 6 double-sided turnout gear storage lockers for the Coolidge Fire Department. Discussion and action. Councilmember Williams pulled it off, so Jimmy, go ahead. Walker, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, no discussion. I just need to recuse, as an employee of the Gila River Indian Community, I just need to recuse myself.
Oh, okay. All right. So there you go. So in that case, you noted that, Norma? I'll give you a chance to catch up for a minute. I see you writing away over there. Okay. In that case, then I'll need if there's no discussion, then I'll need a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve consent agenda item 6 as read.
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Sorry to make you sweat, Chief.
Yeah. Well, he needed the exercise.
Okay. Wait, come back.
All right, so we'll move into business under regular items. Item 13. Consider approval of changing the library fee charged for late DVDs. Hello, Joyce.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. We brought this to you back on December 9th, asking you to consider modifying the late fee charged for DVDs. As required by law, the proposed change in fees and fines was posted on the City of Coolidge website for 60 days. No one responded to the proposed changes. The board now asks that the City Council adopt the modification. The board thinks that the existing policy does not appropriately reflect the cost of DVDs. When the library first began offering DVDs, they were much more expensive than books. However, the cost of DVDs has dropped significantly in the last few years. The current policy charges a patron $1 a day for each DVD that is late, but charges 10 cents a day for all other items that are overdue. Since the cost of DVDs is no longer any more than the cost of a book, the Advisory Board recommends that the DVD late charge fee match the fees charged for books at 10 cents per day, up to a maximum of $5. Patrons will continue to be charged for the replacement cost of all unreturned items when they are more than 30 days overdue. Library privileges will still be suspended when a patron accumulates a balance exceeding $5. This change will make DVD late charges consistent with the cost of the materials. The new policy will state all overdue items are charged 10 cents per day until returned. There is a 4-day grace period on these items. Materials returned past the 4-day grace period will be charged for the full overdue period. Overdue fines shall not exceed the original price of the item. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Down here? Questions down here?
No.
No, I read your backup information in your briefs. I don't have any questions. I don't see any. And there's none up here, so, in that case, I need a motion to act.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consideration of changing the library fee charge for the late DVDs as read.
I second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 14, consider approval of accepting and entering into a letter of agreement and addendum between the City of Coolidge Fire Department and Brycer LLC to provide fire system inspection compliance within the city limits of Coolidge. Chief, we've never been down this road before, Chief, so.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Good.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, City Council members. Brycer LLC, which is doing business as the Compliance Engine, is a simple internet-based tool for fire prevention bureaus to track and drive code compliance, reduce false alarm activity, and provide a safer community. It provides a secure cloud environment to which third-party contractors that inspect, test, and maintain fire protection systems can submit their reports via their web portal, which gives each fire department access, or it gives our fire department access to their cloud, facilitating a more efficient review, tracking, and follow-up process with occupants to correct deficiencies and maintain systems. So the current landscape or environment that we see in the fire service is about 40% of all life safety systems, meaning fire standpipe systems, sprinkler systems, hood extinguishing systems. About 40% of those go uninspected every year. About 32.5% of the false alarms are due to lack of maintenance. 29% of a fire official's time is usually spent enforcing these fire codes for these inspections. And 95% of all jurisdictions do not have the resources to enforce usually the local fire codes. So what this company does is it works with over 200 vendors in the state of Arizona that provide fire inspection services to businesses that have one of these protection systems. Once they know that the Coolidge Fire Department is working with them, these inspectors, these vendors, are required to report to the Appliance Engine's web portal on the deficiencies or passing or whatever state their system is. We have access to this portal to where we can pull the information on all the businesses within Coolidge that have these systems and how they're complying. So what this does is this is a zero fee to the city. The Compliance Engine, it charges the vendors for their service, for their data collection services. How the vendors pass on the cost to the customers, that's on them. But as far as to the cost of the city, it's zero, and the fire department has access to their database. And this is going to free up a lot of our personnel's time and inspections on these systems.
Chief, my first question is, how much time do we spend doing what they're going to do?
Right now, we actually don't have the time to do it. We don't have time to go to each individual business and inspect their fire protection system. And a lot of these systems are usually covered under the State Fire Marshal's office, which we have systems located within the city of Coolidge that haven't been inspected in probably 10, 15 years.
Okay, so I'm wondering, how is it going to free up their time if they're not doing it now? But why don't you do us, everybody a favor and just kind of do a scenario and walk us through
Okay.
something, a kitchen.
Okay.
Kitchen, don't name the restaurant, crying out loud. The next thing you know. we'll
Okay,
be-
so there's a restaurant in Coolidge. They have a hood extinguishing system, which by state codes that should be inspected every year. They have a company that comes in and inspects their hood system every year. That company inspects it. They go on down the road. It is up to the actual business to report those findings to us, which they rarely do. So, it's not any fault of their own, they just don't do it. So when a vendor comes in now and inspects that same restaurant, that vendor is going to input their information of that restaurant into the compliance engine's website, which we can have access to. Now we can go through every week, monthly, so on and so forth, and see who's been inspected, and what the status of their system is. So if we notice on this web portal that we have a business that is not compliant or is having problems getting up to code, then we can make a visit out there and find out if there's something that we can help them with, if their system is just out of service, and then that way we'll know.
So you don't need anything else on your end, like computer-wise or storage-wise or technology-wise. You just need to be able to tap into their cloud.
Correct.
And look XYZ restaurant and see if they have problems.
Correct. So what will happen is, if we decide to go with this program, the compliance engine will get with myself and probably Tim Hansen, our GIS person, and we'll identify these businesses that have these fire protection systems. And so they'll build a database of these businesses. And once they start getting inspected and the information gets started getting put in, then we'll have access to it. If we approve this, it's not going to be instantaneous. It's going to take a little while to build the database, but then we'll be able to show and track compliance of these fire protection systems.
Now, does this work with sprinkler systems?
Correct.
How many places now? Give me a rough shot. Do you have no idea?
To tell you the truth, I really have no idea. I would venture to say probably no more than 25, probably within the city of Coolidge, that are required annually to have these inspections. So our database is going to be fairly small and manageable right now.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
The folks that are out there are a restaurant that's having their inspections done.
Mm-hmm.
They're using a vendor who isn't part of this program. How are you going to get that data?
Well, right now, Compliance Engine works with over 216 vendors within the state. If they use a vendor that is not on their list, then they can apply for them to be on the Compliance Engine's list, or it's just something that we don't track.
Now, Chief, this is something that they're going to require to do, or is this we have this option
Right.
that's available to you? So I'm assuming it's like a subscription based.
The vendors are going to be required to report on Coolidge businesses. Right. The actual businesses aren't required to do anything. They just have to get inspected, like they're supposed to every year.
So I mean, there's a possibility because there's money involved that this is pitched to our restaurants and they all say we can't afford it, we don't want to do it, or whatever.
It's the city's not charging them, the fire department's not charging them, but the Compliance Engine does charge a fee to the vendor that accesses the porthole to input the information. Now, the vendor could, yes, possibly pass on the cost to the customer, or they could just eat that cost.
And this cost would be on top of the inspection?
Correct.
What about churches?
It's every business that is required to be inspected annually if they have a fire protection system. So if a church has a kitchen and they have a hood extinguishing system, or they have a sprinkler system that are supposed to be inspected every year, that's part of the state's mandated inspection program.
What if you have enough holy water to put it out?
That won't work in some of our churches.
So, like at my particular church, we do have a hall that we do cook food, serve food.
Mhm.
Health department does come in and check it regularly,
Yes,
and we do have that type of a system. So
correct.
it's something I've got to talk to the father about and tell him that we've got some costs coming down the road.
Well, it's the vendor that that comes in and does it. So, however they work the fee schedule, we have no control over. This just gives us information or access to the database of every business in Coolidge that's compliant or not compliant.
Thank you.
Chief, you've been in our senior center. Is our senior center does it fall under the classification where it would have?
Usually, with city buildings, the fire department will still maintain inspection on those. So we'll input the data on those because they're city-owned buildings. These are all what we're talking about here are usually private businesses.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what this cost would be for the vendor to use this?
The compliance engine, after having meetings with them, they say that it's an extra $15
Okay.
per inspection per year.
And then you say you don't know how many places exactly in town have these types of systems. How are you going to be able to find out?
Process of elimination.
Wait till it burns down, grease fire?
Like we said, it's going to take. It's a long process getting the database built up. Even the few that we have here, because the thing is they have to schedule an inspection in order to get put into the database. So if they have a system out there that say has never been inspected, then that's one business that we actually will not probably capture until we can physically get the personnel to go out there and actually look at it.
So not getting deep into it, but I would assume if they had a hood, we'll say a hood, we'll keep with the restaurant theme, and it wasn't inspected yearly, and if there was a fire and it was narrowed down to that, that insurance wouldn't pay because it was not inspected?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
He took the words out of my mouth, so I don't have anything.
Looks like the XYZ restaurant's got issues. So how are you going to notify the businesses, or are you?
So what we'll do is once the data starts getting put into the system, and we either see compliance or deficiencies, and we can track when the vendor is supposed to come out and re-inspect. If they still continue having deficiencies, that's when the fire department can make a visit out to them and find out if there's something that we can help them with, or if there is a problem with their system where we just need to red tag it and put it out of service. So that's when we will start taking action, is when they do not comply.
Oh, okay.
Chief, just real quick, if there's on a more complex system, if there's a standpipe that's outside the building, does this inspection make sure that standpipe is physically connected
Correct.
to the suppression system?
Correct. That is part of the testing, is to make sure all components are actually connected to the system and in operation.
Anybody have anything else? No? Done? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion with, we approve item 14 as read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Item 15. Consider approval of entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement between the City of Coolidge and Wright Geotechnical of Arizona, LLC, doing business as Alta Arizona, for the purpose of providing engineering services to provide updates to the landfill closure plan. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in 1998, we had a landfill closure plan that was submitted to ADEQ, and it was approved. But since then, we haven't updated that. And so every year for the financial assurance that we need to provide to ADEQ, the only thing that we've been doing is we've been taking the cost estimates from that 1998 landfill closure plan and updating them by 3% just to account for inflation. And ADEQ and our city staff felt that that wasn't necessarily meeting the intent of the landfill closure plan and the landfill financial assurance. And so we decided to look into the possibility of updating that plan. And then also that desire, the intent was furthered along with the information that we were able to acquire the dirt that we needed from the Arizona water recharge basins, as well as their nitrate removal facility, and then also the dirt that was excavated with the process of runway, the runway grant that's going on right now. And so we were able to get a significant amount of the dirt that we needed for the landfill closure. And as you may recall from reading the 1998 landfill closure report, the dirt that we needed was the #1 top expense for that. And so now, with the dirt that we've been able to acquire free of charge, with the exception of paying Pinal County to help us move the dirt, we've taken a significant chunk out of the cost that we needed to close the landfill. And so to get a better idea of the more realistic cost that we have, we decided to look for a consultant to provide updates to that plan. In April of 2019, Pinal County sent out for an RFQ for firms to provide consulting services for solid waste, and they recommended Alta Arizona, who was the winner of that contract, to us, and we were able to negotiate with Alta Arizona under the cooperative purchasing agreement through Pinal County to come to a scope of work for updates to our closure plan. They provided a bid to us for a cost proposal, and we're bringing that to council approval. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Matt, and I can't remember the last update that the council got an update about, but wasn't the figure well over $1 million?
It was.
Previously to close the landfill?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Councilman, yes, it was. It was $1.2 million to close that.
And what dollar amount do you think getting this dirt from these other places has probably saved us?
I would say it's probably saved us over $800,000 or even closer to $1 million because of the 50, 60,000 cubic yards of dirt from the Arizona water recharge basin. They had another 20,000 cubic yards from their nitrate removal facility that we've already brought in, and then also we have probably about 30,000 cubic yards of dirt from the runway. So we have all, if not most, if not all of the dirt taken care of already.
And the agency that oversees this, they've been very lenient with us.
They have been. And in speaking to the finance director, Mr. Garcia, he has mentioned that ADEQ is kind of waiting for an update, and we've been telling them that we've had an update moving forward, and at this point we're ready to move forward with that update.
So if we did this and got this update, and with the $800,000 or $1 million worth of dirt, that's not going to cost us that. We probably see light at the end of the tunnel that maybe it would probably satisfy them for a little while before we can have to really close it down and spend the other $200,000.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Councilman, that is our hope. However, we also hope that once we have this cost estimate now where it's well below the initial cost estimate, we'll be able to move forward with that sooner rather than later and actually get out of the tunnel rather than just looking at the end of the light at the end of it.
Thank you.
You know, Matt, when I first got elected mayor, I used to get dirty little letters from ADEQ threatening to fine us, but I still never ever saw, and you weren't the department head, but I never saw a landfill plan. This is kind of the first one, the first I've ever even seen of it. And all these years. I'm curious how we've arrived at just under $45,000 to do this plan, piggybacking off of, I guess, Pinal County using their consultant. I mean, can you shed a little light on that, or?
I can.
From 1998, and I know that I was told that most of it was dirt. You know, I know we can't put any concrete in there because, I've asked, you can't get dirt in there, but we're getting all our dirt other than the cost that we're going to pay. I think we've negotiated a deal with Pinal County to
Yes, sir.
haul it. So how come it's going to cost so much to do the plan? That seems like,
Well, part of it, Mr. Mayor, is it will be a comprehensive update of the cost estimate. It'll be a comprehensive analysis of what other options that we have. With the 1998 report, we were going under the assumption that it would require a liner, would require 2 feet of fill plus an additional foot of cover over the top. The consultant that has been working with Pinal County has actually brought it to our attention that there may be another option to avoid the liner. If we can find some soil that has some high clay content, that may serve in place of the liner. And so the $45,000 was the scope that they provided to us, that they proposed to us for the comprehensive update to the landfill closure plan, to working with ADEQ on our behalf, to helping us to oversee the construction if it goes to that point. Could we have sent it out for bid? Yes, we could have, but is there any guarantee that it would have come in below $45,000? No, there's not. We could have sent it out for bid and gotten somebody to come in at $60,000. We don't know. But the benefit of cooperative purchasing agreements, as we brought to you before, is that now we have a contract ready to go if council decides to approve it, rather than staff spending the time to create an RFQ, to send that out for bid, to evaluate the responses, then to negotiate into a contract with the top submitter, with the top respondent, and then bringing back for a further contract. In looking over the price proposal, we actually have reached out to ADEQ to find other entities and other municipalities throughout the state who have gone through a similar landfill closure update. And when I spoke to the ADEQ agent this afternoon, she said she was going to send over a list to me of those municipalities who have gone through a landfill closure update. As of now, I haven't received that. But once we get that, we will reach out to them and find out from them what they paid for their landfill closure plan updates as well.
well, and you may be right about the 60,000, but it could be 25,000 too, and I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, 1998 is a long time ago, and when we do these, a lot of times we have pretty recent. When we piggyback off a lot of them, we have pretty recent information. That was a long time ago that they got this, and I guess it could have gone up. I'm just wondering how they arrive at what they arrive at, and I would be interested to know how much a liner would cost if they're gonna. There's got to be some clay out there where they're digging right now. I mean, they're going to dig a bunch of those big giant ditch. Well, it's not a ditch, but pond. There's got to be some clay in some of those. So I just wondered. I just thought it was kind of high for what they're going to do.
And Mr. Mayor, that was our thought too. Originally, we had budgeted $30,000 with this. However, after reviewing the proposal that we received from Alta Arizona and looking at the market conditions right now, we did feel that it was a fair assessment for what we're asking them to do.
It sounds like Councilmember Hudson's ready to go, but
Mr. Mayor? Maybe Matt, can you kind of, or maybe explain what's involved in a study like this? Is it soils testing? Is it boring? Is it surveying? Is it, what kind of work is required? And that would maybe drive up some of those costs?
Well, part of the work, and I have a representative here from Alta, Arizona as well, that maybe he can chime in if I overlook something. But part of it is the survey, part of it is the soil testing for the permeability and the permissibility of that soil to be used as a landfill cover. It's also testing locations. It's also looking at the analysis that we have and providing aerial survey topography to find out how much material we need to put where. Part of it too is working with ADEQ on our behalf so that we don't have to take staff time to go all the way up to Phoenix to meet with ADEQ for 2 hours, come all the way back, and they will be working with us on our behalf. And they're also with this scope of work, looking through if there are some things that we feel that we can do in-house, we can remove those from the scope of work, and then that will also help to lower the cost that we pay to Alta Arizona as well.
I know engineering is, when you're talking about engineering studies and you're talking about this type of assessment, that's not an inexpensive thing to do. But, we could go out and to bid. I know Gabe worries every year about this, when are we going to pay for this? When are we going to get this done? When are we going to get it done? So I think we're just trying to get it done and over and get out of that tunnel that Matt's talking about so we can get this thing closed. I think we can get it closed sooner than later.
Well, Mr. Miller, I don't think anybody wants to get it done more than I do.
I know.
I'm the one that gets the dirty letters. But I also don't want to waste the taxpayers' money. Maybe the representative could stand and give us an idea of why we're looking at, what is it, $46,000 for
Okay.
this.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, may I present Mr. John Oliver from
Sure.
Alta, Arizona?
Thank you. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, thanks for having me. John Oliver with Alta.
Thank you, John.
So, $50,000, I'd first like to just start off with, it is a time and materials thing. So if it doesn't take us as much time as we're estimating, then we're not going to charge you for the time, but we do try to put enough time in there so that, we don't fall short altogether. But so initially what we'll do is we'll get in touch with ADQ. We got to go to them, get all their records, go through all their records to see what's available for the plan because we don't have the full plan right now. We'll test the materials, as he was saying, doing soil sampling to make sure that it's going to be allowed to be used, and we have to go and negotiate with ADQ to convince them what materials are allowed to be in there. So we're pretty much going to give them, here's the test we're going to do, and convince them that's what's adequate, based on it being under the runway. There was fire suppression test, or different types of materials. And then we have to recreate the plan, come up with, retype a lot of portions of it that aren't there. There's missing exhibits, which if ADQ has them, then we don't have to recreate them. But like the drainage is kind of old, so we'll need to reevaluate the drainage that comes through there because it was done with not current standards. We have to negotiate with ADQ to make sure, to see which standards we have to update in the report. And then there, like he said, there is also, helping you guys out by going to all those meetings. But during the bid process, we prepare the bid package, which includes a set of plans for construction. There's a post-closure plan. And, overall, I think the 40 grand is probably, 4 to 6 weeks worth of total hours of work. So, like I think he said, it's not cheap to do engineering studies, and we may have to recreate certain portions of it that aren't available.
So what is a post-closure plan?
It's documenting what's going to be required for testing long-term.
And is that included in this? Are you guys involved in that or no?
We won't know exactly what the post-closure plan is going to be until we come up with the closure plan and, design it.
So give me an example of how, if we needed somebody involved in it, would you be involved in it, and would it be included in this price or no?
I believe that the post-closure plan, once we know, is we would negotiate at the end of this process. Yeah. And then that would be additional fees for post-closure services, for construction services. So this gets us through research and coordination, evaluating the cover material, coming up with a cost-benefit analysis to determine whether it's more cost-effective to use a certain amount of dirt as fill or the plastic liner, and then updating the current closure plan, which is really kind of recreating the existing current closure plan based on the materials we can get from ADEQ, and then discussing with them what they want us to do and what we have to actually change, and if it's still valid, and then creating the actual construction documents for the fill material needed, specifications and details, and then assisting with bid evaluation, contract negotiation. So those would be the line item breakdown fees, with 10% of those costs being bid evaluation and contract negotiation, about $6,000 of that, if needed. And those are kind of the ones that could be done on your own if you guys have the time.
So who are we bidding and negotiating with, ADQ?
The contractors.
Oh, the contractor?
We'll be negotiating with ADQ to get the details needed of what they want us to provide them for the closure plan itself. And then we'll be preparing the actual closure plan, updating the report, and the construction documents.
Okay. So there seems to be a lot more involved in this than you're just doing the plan. And so then somebody's got to haul the dirt, which sounds like we've got that taken care of. And what else is involved? Whether there's a liner or no liner, and that's part of what you're doing?
Yeah, that would be a cost-benefit analysis, looking at what, doing research on what current liners cost per square yard for the 17 acres of the site, or how much is needed to be covered, and then comparing that to how much dirt you guys have, how much of that is adequate, and which one's going to be cheaper for construction.
Okay. And once we determine all that, then where are we? What do we do then?
And we would work on discussing the post-closure plans, which is like yearly monitoring and reporting of that, and construction testing during construction, materials testing. You got to go and sit there and survey and prove that you got everything to the right elevation. You have to demonstrate that you have the exact thickness that you need.
So can our staff do that, or do we have to hire somebody else to do it?
Mr. Mayor, we do have the capacity in-house to accomplish a lot of that surveying. I have some survey experience. My engineering inspector also has some survey experience, and between the two of us, we feel reasonably comfortable that we can address that in-house.
Okay, and so that would be the post plan.
That would be part of it, yes. And also we have a current contract through Copper State Engineering for the methane monitoring, which is required through ADEQ, and we would just continue that for the post-closure as well.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor, on that particular item, on the methane. I read those reports all the time when they come in, and then I think you get them as well.
Yes.
I'm finding that there really is no significant methane that's been released from this very minimal landfill over all these reports.
That's correct.
Is there a point in time where they say, hey, this thing's never going to be a problem in terms of methane?
And we believe that's the case. We believe that we can show the last 15 years of methane monitoring to ADEQ and say, look, there hasn't been any methane that you've detected over the last 15 years. Give us a break on it. So we may be able to negotiate a shortened time frame for the semi-annual monitoring for the methane, which would also help to reduce the cost for the post-closure plan.
I don't have any further questions. Does anybody else?
I do. You're talking about the need or possible need for a liner and or soil with a fair amount of clay in it. So I'm guessing that you want that barrier, and is that covering the landfill? Because at this point, you've already got the cavity filled, so there's no point in putting a liner or a clay barrier to prevent any possible leachate into groundwater around this landfill. Is that correct? So you're
Mr. Mayor, Madam Council Member, yes, that is absolutely correct. It's to prevent the infiltration of rain, which would then seep down through any soil that we have to contaminate the groundwater.
So then you're trying to put that barrier there to prevent any new, like you said, any new waters
Yes.
or liquids going into that landfill, creating additional leachate, which may or may not have some
Yes.
bad things.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. I get it. Thank you.
I did have one question. With all this going on, you guys are doing all the testing and everything. If we get it all done and say we go without the liner, if ADEQ comes in and they test and we fail the test when it comes to the soil test, what is our recourse?
So far, we haven't performed any tests on the soil, so we have already gotten basically a clean bill of health from Arizona Water through ADEQ with the soil that we've been able to acquire through the recharge basin and through the nitrate removal facility. When we first had the opportunity to acquire that dirt, we reached out to ADEQ, we reached out to Arizona Water Company and said, give us any testing that's been done or any materials that have been placed on that soil since it's come into possession of Arizona Water Company. And in the original agreement that we had with Arizona Water Company, they mentioned that that through their testing and to their knowledge, they hadn't had any contaminants in that soil. And we brought that to ADEQ, and ADEQ said, yes, this is fine. So we were authorized by ADEQ to go ahead and use that soil for a significant portion of the cover. So we've already addressed that with the soil that we have from the recharge basin from the nitrate removal facility, and now we're just in the process of working with ADEQ to come up with a list of tests for materials to test for contamination from the dirt that's been under the runway.
And what I'm more concerned about is the clay content. I don't know if they told you about the clay content in the soils with that testing that the water company did or not. I'm saying that if we go and we cap this, we don't use the liner and we use it for the clay content so the water doesn't seep through, and then they come back in after it's all said and done and they test and they said the soil does not have the clay content, you're going to have to put a liner on this and you're going to have to put another 2 feet of fill on top of this after we burned it on that. What would be our recourse if we were wrong with the testing, saying that the testing failed when we put it in there?
Then at that point, we would keep the dirt that's in there. If that were to become the issue, we would leave the dirt that's in there now, that we put in there, and then just put in the additional cost for the liner. However, Mr. Councilman, with all due respect, I don't believe that will come to that, because we will not put any soil on until we get the approval from ADEQ to do so. We will do the tests prior to incorporating any of the soil from the runway, and we will analyze the clay content, the permeability, and submit all that to ADEQ for approval prior to even putting any of that dirt on.
Okay, so we'll be good before that even happens.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have.
I've got another question. Is there somewhere in the Code of Federal Regulations regarding, what's the bare minimum requirement for a closure plan?
Yeah, there's a checklist on ADEQ's website.
Okay, so a lot of this research and coordination
is negotiating with them. They have standard things like when you create a closure plan, you got to use a 24 by 36 sheet. You have to have 18-inch thickness of soil or 36 inches. You have to have these minimum slopes, so it's more design standards. When it comes to what's an applicable soil quality, there's some room for negotiation in there. And then that's where, at least with our firm, our principal, Dan Vermeer, has worked for 30 years as like the president of waste management. And so he's had a lot of negotiations with ADEQ during his time. And he feels pretty confident we can narrow that list down instead of a broad spectrum of having them make us look at 50 different items. We're going to try to narrow it down to 1 or 2 items that we think the soil's going to pass.
All right, thank you.
I'm good.
Any other questions?
I'm just not comfortable. I don't have enough information right now to, you probably have the most experience of any of us when it comes to this type of thing.
Have a bit. When it comes to bidding it out, the cost of a survey, I don't. If you're not comfortable,
well,
landfill's been open for 22 years. It can wait another couple of months while we put it out.
I'm not even talking about a couple of months. I'm haven't had a really chance to examine the information as much as I would have liked, but that's just me. I can put it out there and I can vote no, and you guys can vote yes, and that could be the end of it.
Well, I think it would be prudent to wait. You mentioned that you had requested from ADEC to have those other companies and what they charged, and basically we could do a comparison then. No offense, we could do a comparison of what others have charged for these closure plans based on type of landfill, has, non-has, the size of the landfill, and that kind of stuff, and then we'd know if we're getting a good bang for the buck. I don't like to overpay for anything, and I'm actually the queen of, not paying full price for anything. So $44.9 is not acceptable. So, sorry.
I would like more information, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not, a lot of the times, and you mentioned in your opening statement that, we do this a lot, and we do. We go off of things, but it's things that we've seen in the recent past. I mean, we've never seen this agreement. We've never seen the landfill agreement that I know of. Maybe they've seen it, but I've never seen it. And I know the new guys haven't seen it. The newer guys, none of these guys are new anymore, but the newer people haven't seen it. And I would like a chance to review the information, and then you can bring John back. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with, this is something that Councilmember Navarro brought up. If we mess this up, then it's really going to cost us some money.
Right.
We're going to have some problems.
Understood. And Mr. Mayor, I absolutely understand where you're coming from. And that's one of the reasons that we as staff decided to go out to bring a consultant on board, is because I don't have the experience personally with the landfill closure. I've never dealt with the landfill closure. And when I was in Globe and Public Works, they didn't have a landfill. And so when I came in, I saw the landfill closure plan. I was told that this is what we need to do, and I was thrown into the fire. And so I'm relying on the expertise of consultants to help us out with this.
And probably within the first 2 or 3 months I was the mayor, I got a letter from ADQ, and the first thing they said is, we're going to start fining you guys if you don't get with it. And I had no idea that we were in violation of anything. So, I mean, believe me, there's nobody that wants to close this thing more than I do. But I want to make sure we do it the right way, and I'd like to have enough information that I feel comfortable that we're doing it the right way, and I'd like to know how it works. You guys have mentioned some things tonight that, we're going to put clay in certain areas to make sure we don't need a lining, and then Councilmember Navarro mentioned something about the clay swells up, and we got to bring in 2 more feet of fill dirt and put it over the top because the clay swelled up. So, did I misunderstand that?
It wasn't that the clay swelled up, it's that the test failed. So when they came in and they tested the material failed, and there wasn't enough clay in the soil to pass the test. And that was my concern. But maybe, since you're not comfortable, and I feel like a few other people aren't comfortable, we should table this to the next meeting, and perhaps if you have the 98 plan, you could kick it our way, and we could take a look at it, and we can kind of compare it and see what's going on, and be a little better educated on it.
And, you can bring John back. I'm not, it's not, it may not be, the price may not be that high. It seems high to me because I don't have enough information. And you guys may want to take a look at it and see what you think. I mean, certainly, we're willing to negotiate, I think, but I don't know if we are or not. That's, our attorney tells us what we're willing to do a lot of times. But the bottom line is I just don't feel comfortable. I can tell you right now, I'd vote no. So there's a better shot if I have more information to review. And then when our public works, or when our engineer, our number 1 guy tells me that, maybe he could possibly have a little more time to look at it, I think I want to close it. Believe me, I want to get going. But I don't want to do it the wrong way and then run into more problems.
Understood.
So.
And I agree with you 100%, and I'm sure any one of the city staff would echo that same sentiment.
We need to do it the right way if we're going to do it, and I don't want to take forever. So if you guys could get us those agreements as soon as possible, we can take a look at it, and if there's anything you want to send us.
Yeah, I'll work with him to get you that plan and get you a little more detailed description of scope
Okay, that's fine, that'd be great, and then we take, so, can I have, if you wanna.
I got one question. Matt, did you do any kind of research on Alta?
We did. We actually had met with them previously, and we looked into their registration on the Board of Technical Registration. We talked to Pinal County because they were the ones that referenced, that provided them as a reference. So we asked, this is unbeknownst to Alta Engineering and any of their staff. We reached out to Pinal County and said, hey, what has it been like working with them? We received a very favorable response from Pinal County, working with them, checking them, looking into the background of, like you said, Dan Vermeer is the principal for Alta, Arizona. We looked into his background. We looked into everything that he did through waste management when he was the president of waste management for 30 years, and that's why we are confident that they will be able to help us with our landfill closure plan updates as well as the post-closure plan.
I kind of agree with the mayor, though. I think we need more information before we go forward, because that is a lot of money, and we still really have no idea of what is going to be done. So,
see, one of the things, John, I would tell you that is, when we look at paving companies and they send us bids, they have, a lot of them have resumes of their top guys. Sure. Of how many years experience and what they've done and that type of thing. And maybe there was one included. I didn't see.
There wasn't in that proposal.
Okay.
I did bring a printout of some of them if you want now, or we can send you our SOQ instead.
But there's other things, so send them along. I don't know that necessarily want to kick these guys down the road, but I need more information on the process, what's going to happen, because you've mentioned some things tonight that, when you're looking at post. I know there was going to be methane monitoring and things like that, but, if something's going to swell up and we're going to have to go back out and do some other things, if it's not done right, well, that's a whole different ballgame. We need to be aware of some of the things that can happen. And right now, if I voted yes and something happened, and somebody's sitting up here 5 years from now and they have to come up with, $800,000 to fix what we did, I don't want them to be in that position.
I'll put that all together for you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if there is no further discussion, I move to table to next meeting for staff to supply additional information to council.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, and we will provide that information to you as soon as we get it.
Thank you for coming down. Okay, we need a report from the mayor and council. We'll start down here with council member.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
I'd just like to say I love Arizona, love our weather, and don't ever send me back to Indy in February.
I have nothing to add.
I don't have much to add. Here recently there was a state bill, 1625, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. It's about firearms and your rights. I'm not going to ramble on about it, but I would recommend that anybody who is a gun owner who believes in the Second Amendment take a look at it. You might also want to take a look at the 1624, 1626, and 1627 and take a look at those. It's in your best interest. Other than that, I have nothing.
The only thing I have is sending the condolences to the Bonney family. Bob Bonney was a chief here, I think, what were the years, Chief? 92, 81 to 92. And he passed away a few days ago, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, did have a meeting recently with RAD. They let us know that there's going to be a change in the bulk trash schedule. I'd like the citizens to know that rather than having the schedule twice on 2 days a month for 2 different zones, they're going to pick up the entire city 1 day a month. So it won't be any question about which day you put your bulk trash out on. So effective in March, this will begin March 10th. From then on, it'll be the second Tuesday of every month. The whole city will be picked up, so you don't have to decide which day to put your bulk trash out on. So second Tuesday, beginning in March. So if you have a bulk trash pickup request by RAD, you make the appointment ahead of the pickup. You have to call them and say, hey, I've got bulk trash at my curb. You give them the address. You have to be paying your bill in order to get the bulk trash, and they'll start picking that up on March 10th and then every second Tuesday following March 10th. It actually will make it simpler.
Mr.
for the
Miller, you
customer.
call them now and you can't get through half the time. If you double the amount of calls, how are our citizens going to get through?
Well, I really haven't had myself. Now, maybe you've had more complaints, but I have not had many people calling me
Well,
about
I've had trouble getting through. I don't know about anybody else, but I know I have.
I don't know.
So, okay.
I guess you could call us. We could call the individual that we've been working with and alert him of those concerns. But
All right, we'll see how it goes.
the other thing I'd like to mention is that tonight, as you go out, we did change the color for the water tower to recognize or celebrate future farmers of America. So it's blue and gold. Hopefully, I changed the colors before when it was still sunlight out, so hopefully it looks good. It's hard to see in the sun when you're changing those colors. So when we go out there, you might be surprised. Hopefully it's not pale blue and pink, but hopefully it's blue and gold. That's it, Mayor.
Before the mayor does his thing,
I'm not going to do anything.
I've had several people ask us if we would have a Facebook for the tower.
Yeah, we have on our upcoming agenda a policy, a lighting policy that we're going to be presenting to the mayor and council, formulated after the town of Gilbert. One of the things we'd like to do is have a Facebook so that people could make those requests based on a policy. I mean, obviously, we can't just adhere to, fulfill everybody's request, whether somebody passed away or whatever. We really have to do it, for holidays, special events, breast cancer awareness, other cancer awarenesses, and domestic violence month. We'll have some policy in there.
I don't think it was just necessarily for requesting things, but to comment about it. When they, when somebody posts the colors and stuff like that, there's a lot of comments about how nice it looks and so forth. So I think that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, we'd like to have one of those for sure. We'll get one.
Okay, I don't have anything to add. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.